सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Okay. So we are doing chapter 17. Chapter 7. We will chant together verses 11 to 20. Balam balavatamasmi kamaraga vivarjitam dharma viruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshabha ye chaiva satvika bhavaha rajasastamasascha ye matta eveति तान् विद्धि न त्वहं तेषु ते मयि त्रिभिर्गुणमयै भावैः येभिः सर्वमिदं जगत् मोहितं नाभिजानाति मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम् दैवी ह्येषा गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्यया मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतां तरन्ति ते न मां दुष्कृतिनो मूढाः प्रपद्यन्ते नराधमाः मायया परुतज्ञानाः आसुरं भावमाश्रिताः चतुर्विधा भजन्ते मां जनाः सुकृतिनोऽर्जुन आर्तो जिज्ञासुरर्थार्थी ज्ञानी च भरतर्षभ तेषां ज्ञानी नित्ययुक्तः एकभक्तिर्विशिष्यते प्रियो हि ज्ञानिनोत्यर्थम् अहं स च मम प्रियः उदारा सर्व एवैते ज्ञानी त्वात्मैव मे मतम् आस्थितः स हि युक्तात्मा मामेवानुत्तमां गतिं बहूनां जन्मनामन्ते ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते वासुदेवः सर्वमिति समहात्मा सुदुर्लभः कामैस्तैस्तैरुतज्ञानाः प्रपद्यन्तेऽन्यदेवताः तं तं नियममास्थाय प्रकृत्या नियता स्वया. So we are on chapter 7 of the Bhagavad Gita. If anybody has any question on what we have covered so far, you can raise your question now. Those who are with us on YouTube, I don't know how you will do this. Maybe you can join us on Zoom if you have a question, or you can type out your question and I'll answer it later on if I don't see it on this. Okay, so no questions. So let us just revise a very important part that he has been speaking about over here. A critically important part of spiritual sadhana, because so many people want to develop spiritually. It's just one of those things people want, and there seems to be some sort of glamour associated with it. So we pursue God, we pursue religious things, we pursue spiritual things. We're going here and there, helter skelter, trying to find something. It's not there. Wherever you are going to find it, it's not there. The only place you can find that ultimate truth, that ultimate God, the ultimate reality is within yourself. There is no need to go here and there. Then why are people going here and there? Because actually the pursuit is not of the God, is not of the reality, is not for the truth. The pursuit is for something else. Many people go to the temple because they want health, or they want wealth, or they want solace. None of these things are available there. That's not what it's meant for. It's meant for the specific purpose of us understanding our own self. It is not meant for us to use as a via media to fulfill our desires. Yes, I mean, in a certain sense, it does help you, because how we fulfill our desires is when we are able to think clearly, and we're able to think clearly when our minds are calm. So you sort of go and say to God, I want this, I want that, and then you rest assured that He's going to give it to you. So hopefully, your mind calms down, and then the intellect starts thinking, and you can think of better ways of achieving whatever it is you would like to achieve. And that's possible, but that's not what it's meant for. So Krishna is saying over here, right? He's telling us, now what more can he do? There's a Marathi abhanga that goes, Shodhisi Manava, oh man, oh mind, you're hunting. Rahuri, Mandari, everywhere you're going around hunting. In the mandir, you're there, everywhere you're going. Nandato Devaha Tujha Antari. That God, Nandato, he's dancing, he's singing, he's reveling inside you. Where are you going here and there looking for God? God is your original nature. It's what is most intimate to you. You don't go anywhere to meet Him unless you can talk about it as going within. So Krishna is helplessly saying that. He's saying, okay guys, I'm very happy with you all. You all are going to the temple, the church and the mosque. You're doing all these religious activities. You're doing the havans, you're doing the rituals, you're doing all these things. You're maybe reading the Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads or the Brahma Sutras. You may be reading the Puranas, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, whatever on earth we are doing to get it. Please understand that this is the method of achieving our own self. It is not a method of fulfilling worldly desires. They may incidentally be fulfilled, but that's not the way you fulfill. If you want to fulfill worldly desires, then there are ways of doing it. So you find out those ways. This is not that way. So Krishna is pleading with us. He's saying, okay, I accept that you are all virtuous, you all are trying to do this religious, spiritual thing, but the real spiritual person is the jnani, not the seeker of wealth, not the seeker of solace, not the seeker of just curiosity, mental curiosity. There are so many people. I'm sure you have also come across them. Often we meet these people. They're very keen on understanding what the Gita says, or what the Bible says, or what the Quran says, but there's nothing beyond that. They don't think that this has got anything to do with their lives. It's just, oh, the Quran says that, or the Gita says that, and oh, what is the Upanishad? I'd really like to learn the Upanishads, but for what? Just out of a sort of mental curiosity, or sort of Okay, what is there? I've heard so much about the Upanishad. What is there? So, Krishna is pleading with us. He's saying, okay, you all are all virtuous because you all are attempting some religious or spiritual thing. But the jnani, I deem verily myself. The jnani is the person who goes to spiritual life for the sake of realization. He says, such a person, I deem myself. He and I are one. Meaning that if you go to spiritual life for the right purpose, then you'll get that, right? You're using the right tool to use the right place and you'll get that. He says, he and I are one. Meaning that self is within us. Even that statement to say the self is within us is a false statement because it's not really within us, it is us. I am the self. I am that eternal truth. I am that which is beyond this body, mind and intellect. And it is my job in life to find this out. We don't know whether this is so or not, but we have to find out because how can we not know our own identity? We already know that something is wrong, right? We already know that. We feel the discomfort. And we feel the discomfort no matter what we get in this world. You may think, that okay, if I had a spouse, if I had a child, if I had some money, if I had a house, I would feel fine. But please look at the people who have these things. They are not fine. And we keep thinking that I'll get this and then I'll feel fine, and I'll get that and then I'll feel fine. I'll pass my 10th standard, I'll feel fine. I'll get into college, then I'll feel fine. And then I'll get married and then I'll feel fine. And I'll get a job and I'll feel fine. I'll get grandchildren, then I'll feel fine. Actually, no matter what we get, there is that little discomfort always there. No matter what happens, and it will always stay there. If you remember that movie Random Harvest, he had that key with him. And no matter what his times were, he was on the opera, he was with the prime minister, he was whatever happened, he would take out that key. He didn't know what it was. Wondering always, what is this thing? What is that thing? What is that keeps me from my comfort? That keeps everybody from their comfort. And Vedanta says what keeps us from our comfort is we don't know our own self. If you don't know your own self, how can you be comfortable? It's not possible. If you're restricted, how can you be comfortable? You won't be, no matter what. Suppose I put you into a little cage. Just squeeze you somehow into the little cage, and then in that little cage I give you gold, I give you diamonds, I give you the best food, I give you all sorts of music and entertainment. No matter how nice all those things are, the discomfort will continue. So what Vedanta tells us, what Krishna is telling us is step out of this constriction. What is our constriction? The body, mind and intellect. Step out of this constriction. You're not meant for it. You are the all-pervading reality, the ultimate truth. So why are you staying in there and making yourself so uncomfortable? You are like the bird, you have the freedom of the skies. Why don't you go there and then see how comfortable, how wonderful you feel? Now you may have something or not have something, it won't make a difference. So Krishna is beseeching us to find that truth which we are. It says, he is myself. Who is Krishna? Krishna is a person who has found that out. Who is Muhammad or Christ or Buddha or Mahavir? Who are these people? They are only people who found out who they really were. And who are we? We are people who haven't found out. That's the only difference. Everything else may be just the same. Just find out who you are. So he says, I deem him as verily myself. I think that person is me. I think that person is me means he is me. There is nothing else to this. So here's his plea to us. If we understand it. If we don't understand it, now what can he do? He has said it. Udara sarva evaite. Verse 17 said, Udara sarva evaite. All those who are approaching the spiritual path, they're very good, very nice people. Maybe, genuinely good, honest, nice people, struggling to be good in this world. Very nice. But jnani tvatmaiva me matam. That are the jnani, the real spiritual seeker, beyond the people who do social work, beyond the people who do bhajans, beyond the people who study the texts, is a real spiritual seeker who is the self. He is the self means whether you're a spiritual sadhak or you're not the spiritual sadhak, you are the self. There is no, you are the self. You may be Ravana or you may be Duryodhana or you may be whatever, Osama bin Laden, you are the self. But who's a spiritual seeker? A person who chooses to find out what he really is. So he says, whoever is even attempting to find out, I will deem him as myself. Means he's as good as realized. So why as good as realized? Because suppose you're sitting in a plane, they call the plane Calcutta or they call the plane Delhi. Why do they call it Calcutta or Delhi? Because they mean that if you're sitting in that plane, you will reach Calcutta or you will reach Delhi. It doesn't literally mean that plane is Calcutta or Delhi. So that's what he's saying. Such a person I deem is verily myself. For steadfast in mind, he is established in me alone as the supreme goal. Me alone means finding our own nature. Whenever a prophet used the first person plural, the first person singular, I or me, he meant the self because he knows he's the self. So whenever he says I, he's meaning the self. We don't understand this, so we think it's his body, mind, intellect. We'll fall in love with Allah or Krishna or Rama or Shiva or Buddha or Mahavir. We will fall in love with them. We're falling in love with a body, mind, intellect construct. That is when some of the religions, they say Allah is unknown. You know Muhammad, but you cannot know Allah. They make that division. You can know Christ, you don't know their Father in heaven. They make that division so that you can see that the person you are following is not really the God you're trying to reach. Some religions make that difference just to draw it to our attention that what you're seeking is not all this thing. That real thing is something altogether different. That God is unknown and cannot be known. Cannot be known means you cannot make a relationship of knower and known with it. It is not an object of our knowing. It is the very subject in us. So that relationship of knower and known has to break down. We're talking about our own self, remember? I am me, that's it. And so Krishna says, that person is me. That's what we have to get. The Bible says that too. Moses was on the mount and he was given instructions by the Lord, and Moses said to the Lord, who shall I say has given me this? Who are you? So the Lord is supposed to have answered, I am that I am. That I am which you're using all the time. I am that. Find that. Where are you going hunting for God? That I am in each one of us is that ultimate truth. So he says, he's established in me alone as the supreme goal. To find out who I am is the supreme goal. When he established in that, we are said to be a spiritual sadhak. I hope it's clear up to this point. Only thing is, we also discussed in this word, in this verse, importantly, you see the word matam. Me matam means my opinion. My opinion means that this is the opinion of a prophet given to the person who is listening to him, applicable to some people in some period of time. As differentiated from Sanatana Dharma, which is true for all people at all times. Sanatana Dharma means eternal principles. They're true for everybody at all times. Matam, all the religions are matams. So all matams are applicable to some people at some time. They may or may not be applicable at any other time to any other person. So we must know in every religion which part of it is Shruti. Shruti means Sanatana Dharma, means always applicable. And which part is Smriti, means Matam, which is applicable to some people at some times. So, just to give an example, the law of gravity is applicable to all people at all times, right? An object is attracted to the center of earth at 32 feet per second squared is a law applicable to all people at all times. Now, this is Sanatana Dharma. So suppose you tell a child, there is a law of gravity, and the law of gravity says that every body is attracted to the center of earth at 32 feet per second squared. What does the child make of it? Nothing, right? Because when the intellect is not capable of understanding this, you convert this idea, this Sanatana Dharma, you convert it into an instruction. So to the child, you don't give him the lecture on law of gravity. You tell him, don't walk on the parapet wall of your flat, which is on the 42nd floor of this building. You're not allowed to walk there. This is an instruction. It is a matam. It is an opinion. It is given to a person who cannot understand the Sanatana Dharma directly. So the Prophet gives the matam, says, okay, so since there is a law of gravity, please don't walk on the parapet wall. Now, why is he saying that? Because the person who he's speaking to cannot understand the Sanatana Dharma or doesn't know how to apply it at some point. So he gives a direct instruction, don't walk on that wall. But that instruction is based on Sanatana Dharma. Therefore, we say Vedanta is the root of all religions. By Vedanta, we mean Sanatana Dharma, which means eternal principles. We're not talking about a particular book or something, but eternal principles are the base of all religions. Now, the Prophet converts it from Sanatana Dharma to an instruction. And these instructions are useful for those people who don't understand Sanatana Dharma, eternal principles. So those of us who have an intellect to understand Sanatana Dharma, to understand eternal principles, are free to just ignore those rules and follow Sanatana Dharma. Because remember, any instruction is not applicable to all people at all times. Like, take this instruction, don't walk on the parapet wall of the 42nd story of your building. This is not applicable to all people at all times. Why not? Let's say 10,000 years ago, there were no 42-story buildings, so how can it be applicable there? Maybe 10,000 years hence, we don't know what will be there. We don't know whether people will be on planet Earth. We don't know what's going to happen. So we don't know whether it will be applicable there. But the law will continue to be the law. So, to the extent we have an intellect, we just understand the laws. To the extent our intellect cannot comprehend the laws, we need to follow the rules, which is the matam, which is the opinion, which is the smriti. Now, the other thing is, if you ever find a smriti that is in opposition to shruti, if you find a matam, if you find a do or a don't, a rule, which is not in alignment with the eternal principles, you are not duty bound to follow that. You have to. When there's a clash between Shruti and Smriti, you will always follow Shruti. Okay, so he's referring to this, me matam. Me matam means, he says, I will deem that person as myself. Means I will consider a spiritual sadhak as good as a realized person. Which is obviously his opinion. I mean, obviously it's a very high opinion, but it's his opinion. So therefore he says, he tells you clearly, I will think so. That's the greatness of Vedanta, because Vedanta is supposed to tell us eternal principles, right? So whenever it tells you a rule, it tells you that I'm telling you a rule. That means not applicable to all people at all times. Okay, Bharat, you have a question?
Ji, ma'am, could you give an example of the clash between Shruti and Smriti?
Well, let's say that there is a Smriti that says a man is allowed to take 4 wives. Then that is applicable to some people at some time. There was a time where there were so many wars that maybe all the men were dying, and so there were no husbands for women. So therefore, a sage may have said it's okay for a man to take 4 wives. But under normal conditions or under all conditions, maybe that is not applicable. That is applicable under some conditions. And I believe the conditions from where it is applicable are laid down. So that's a sort of example of a matam that is not always applicable. Another, in the Bhagavad Gita itself, is what Krishna tells Arjuna: get up and fight. But now that's a matam, right? So everybody doesn't have to get up and fight. Every time you have a quarrel with your sister, you can't say the Bhagavad Gita says have a fight. No, it's not applicable. So there's a clash between Shruti and Smriti under that case. So therefore you will follow Shruti. Is that okay?
Ji, thank you.
Anybody else has a question? Okay, so then we will continue with the next verse. So I hope it's clear so far. What he has said is, briefly summarizing, our role in life, in spiritual life, is to reach the self, our own original nature. We unfortunately use spiritual life to attain some sort of worldly thing. You go to God and you say, I want to do well in my exams, and then you don't do well in your exams and you say, I don't believe God exists. That's the kind of childishness we have. So the role of spiritual life is to only realize the self. That's the only role. So he says, though these people are nice people, good people, they may be, spiritual people sometimes are very sweet and very nice. They're very loving. They're very social work oriented. They are doing a lot of good. They may be very knowledgeable in the scriptures, but they still don't come under the title of spiritual sadhaks, because the spiritual sadhak is no doubt he also has to do this. He has to be good, he has to do social work, he has to help everybody, he has to be loving, he has to do all these things. But the purpose of doing all these things is the finding of his own original nature. So Krishna is trying to highlight that and say that, those are the guys who are really on the right track. So instead of saying they're on the right track, he says, I think they are me, myself. Means there is identification between the self and that sadhak. He is established in me alone as the supreme goal, means established in the self alone as the supreme goal. Okay, so now we'll move on to verse 17. Bahunam janmanam ante ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते वासुदेवः सर्वमिति समहात्मा सुदुर्लभः बहूनां जन्मनामन्ते ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते वासुदेवः सर्वमिति Samahatma sudurlabha bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyante. Bahunam janmanam ante. After many births, I think everybody in India knows that spiritual life takes many births. You have to perfect yourself for many, many births before you will come to spiritual growth. And of course Krishna is ratifying that belief. It takes many janmas, so many people get discouraged. They say, oh, it's going to take so many janmas. If you think that it's going to take you so many janmas and God knows when this is going to happen, you need to ask yourself just one question. How do you know which janma this one is? How do you know that? How do you know whether this is your 1000th janma in which you are trying to achieve spirituality, or your first janma, or your millionth janma? How do you know that? So don't worry whether this is going to take you many janmas or you're going to get it in this janma. The fact is you're never going to know that, so we might as well do our hard work. Okay, let's get down to doing the work instead of worrying about whether we are going to get it in this janma or not. So, bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. So, after a spiritual sadhak has worked hard for many janmas, at the end of many births, the man of wisdom reaches me, realizing that all this is Vasudeva. It takes many janmas of trying to find out the truth to understand finally the ultimate truth. All this is Vasudeva. There's nothing else here. There's a reality behind all of this. And that's really all there is. It's not easy to pursue that reality. It is not easy to find that reality. But whether you pursue it or not, whether you find it or not, the reality will continue to be the reality. I may know the truth. I may not know the truth. But the fact remains that the truth will be there. Ain't going nowhere. It's right here for me to find or not find as my interest may be, but that's what the wise man finds. Vasudeva sarvamiti. All this is Vasudeva. Isavasya begins like that also. Isavasya Upanishad begins like that. Isha vasya medagum sarvat yat kinchit chakatyam jagat. This whole world is Isha vasya midhum sarvam yat kinchit chakatyam jagat. This world is pervaded by Isha, the Lord. Whatever is the moving and whatever is the unmoving. In other words, the Lord is all pervading. Same idea here. That a man of wisdom reaches me, realizing that all this is Vasudeva. Vasudeva, Vasu means season, means time, means there are these 8 gods, the Vasus. You are familiar with them from the Mahabharata probably, because you know that Ganga kills her sons, the Vasus, and I suppose you know that long story. So it's not really relevant to us, but that's the story, that Ganga marries Shantanu on the condition that he cannot ask what she is doing. And the story goes that every time she gets a baby, she kills the baby, and he's horrified. What kind of mother is that? And then and the 8th time he stops her, so she returns with her son, the one that she didn't kill, to the heavens, and that child then grows up and becomes the great Bhishma. But the point of it is that there's a backstory to this, where the Vasus were acting funny with the saints, so he cursed them for life on earth, and so they pleaded for forgiveness, and the curse could not be revoked, of course, but it was reduced by saying that you will take birth on earth, but you will return to heaven immediately. But the main Vasu, who actually executed that, says he will not be given any reprieve. He will have to go through his life on earth. And so that Vasu was Bhishma, who had to go through his life on earth. And the others were killed by Ganga, so they could return to heaven. Now that's the story. Anyway, these are all mythological stories that tell us the great truths about life. They are incredibly interesting to understand how these people are explaining truths of life through these so-called absurd stories. The stories are so absurd that you're like, what on earth are they trying to say? So, but they are trying to give us a message. Now, Vasu represents the seasons, or these 8 gods, or all the stuff, and Deva means illuminator. That's why they are supposed to be all the illuminators. The Devas are the illuminators, means all these phenomenal powers, all of them. Your senses are also called the Devas, because your senses illuminate the world. So there is, who is Vasudeva? the god of the Vasus, and who is Vasudeva. Vasudeva also, by the way, is Krishna's father's name. So because of Sanskrit grammar, when you make the first letter longer, then it shows product of. So Shankara Bhasha, instead of saying Shankara Bhasha, you can just say Shankarya, which means it is Shankara's Bhasha. I don't know, other words. Like Janak's daughter is Janaki. And whenever the first letter is elongated, it shows the product of something. So Vasudeva's son is Vasudeva. So this is all Vasudeva, means that there is a truth behind whatever you are seeing. You are seeing the seasons, you're seeing time, you're seeing all this, but there is something else here. Why are we missing that? We are seeing the Nama Rupa. Are we seeing that which illuminates the Nama Rupa? We are seeing the names and the forms, but are we seeing what is the reality behind that? Are we seeing? I can see this wall, right? So my attention is always on the wall that I see. But is my attention on the illuminator of that wall? Who is the illuminator of that wall which I see? My eyes illumine that wall. In other words, I can't see that wall unless my eyes are open and I see it. But will I see it? No, I won't see it. Now I'm in class, I'm not thinking of that wall. I don't see it. Right? So the actual illuminator is not my eye, because the image of the wall is falling on my eyes. And I'm not seeing it. Why not? Because my mind is not there. So who is the real illuminator? Is it my eyes? No, it's my mind. Because unless my mind is there, I will not see the wall no matter what falls on my eyes. But is my mind the real illuminator? Is my mind that by which we see things? No, not really. Because if you were not conscious, how on earth would you know it? Even your intellect can work only if you're conscious, right? You can't work otherwise. So who is the real illuminator? What is this consciousness? What is pure consciousness? I don't know. So he says a wise person is one who has found out that original illuminator of all things, who has found the pure consciousness. And he has found this after a lot of work, through a lot of janmas. So at the end of many births, the man of wisdom reaches me, realizing that all this is Vasudeva. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabhaha. Such a Mahatma, such a great soul, Durlabhaha. It's difficult to find. Isn't it? Where will we find this person? To find a guru in life is, I don't know what. It's the ultimate, isn't it? Because here you found somebody who knows the truth. To find somebody like that is very difficult. Because just think of it. If you compare all the other beings to human beings, we are a very small percentage. Among all human beings, if you compare people who want anything in spirituality to not wanting spirituality, those who are wanting spirituality are a very tiny percentage. Amongst the people who want spirituality and who know what it really is about, that's another tiny percentage. And then somebody who is a genuine seeker and has a genuine guide, such people are even fewer. Now he was genuine, he got a genuine guide, and then after a lot of work, he actually found the truth. Imagine how rare such a person would be. In every generation, if we had one such person, that's a great thing. If we were born in a generation where one such person exists, it's a great thing. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabhaha. It is very difficult to find such a person. So if you had to put this whole verse into one word, just one word for this verse, what would that word be? Now let me see who has been listening. What would that word be? Can you tell me? Please unmute yourself and tell me what, if this verse had to be put in one word, that word would be?
Effort.
Excellent, Bharat. Bharat, you've hit a century this time. Excellent, Bharat. Yes. So what is this verse trying to signify? Effort. Remember last verse what he said? He said, even if you're a sadhak, I will deem you as myself. So your feeling on this was, oh great, I'm a sadhak and I'm as good as realized. Oh no, not really. So this verse is putting all this thing, oh, bahunam janmanam ante, many janmas you have, lot of work you have. Such a person is difficult, it's difficult to find the truth. What is he trying to tell us? That we will have to put in a lot of effort. This is not a path where you sit down and relax. There's going to be effort every step of the way. Be warned, everybody, this is not a path where you sit down and chill, enjoy. Many people feel, oh, the world is so much trouble, we go to spiritual life and we'll be so peaceful. Really? Come along. We will show you what happens when you come to the spiritual path. Find out from all these people who are actively involved. I don't know whether I make them peaceful or I make them unpeaceful. So it is work. And the most inconvenient person in this world to have in your life is to have a guru. Because he is not going to put up with any nonsense from you. Everybody in the world he won't. He's pushing you on a path. So it's very inconvenient, and you can't fool him because he knows exactly when you're functioning on the mind. The rest of the world may or may not know. He knows. So he's very inconvenient to have a teacher. So this verse is talking about the effort that the sadhak needs to put, what all we have to do to get over there. We're not going to get over there just by saying, oh, so nice to be grown spiritually, oh, so nice to go to the temple. Oh no, there's a lot of work involved. Cleaning ourselves is the world's most difficult task, and we better get down to it. It's a lot of work. Okay, so excellent, Bharat, that was great. This verse talks about effort. Anybody has a question on verse 19?
Hari Om, ma'am.
Yeah, Hari Om, Deepak.
And this effort, is it the same as Purushartha?
No. Purushartha is choice. Effort is effort. Effort is kaam karo, bhai. Look, every time you get irritated, find out what you're doing wrong. Don't worry about what the other person is doing wrong. Every time you're happy in life, make sure that you're still doing what you should be doing. Not, oh, I'm so happy. What do you mean you're happy? Big deal whether you're happy or not. Get down to doing work. So that's all the effort we put in, just to even look at ourselves and know what needs to be attended to. Do it. Get up in the morning, study, do your exercises, do your work with an attitude of unselfishness. Now we have a great opportunity in front of us to be unselfish. Use this opportunity. The world is in trouble. This is our time to be of some value, some use to this world. In your way, whatever you want to do, do it. Help out. There's a crisis to all humanity, and every one of us is supposed to do something about it. Whatever we can do in our way, it doesn't have to be something in particular, but we do whatever we can. And we do our every morning. Non-negotiable is our morning study. Absolutely non-negotiable. If you're not doing your morning study, you're fooling yourself that you're on the path. That is non-negotiable. And then what are you doing for bhakti, and what are you doing for keeping your life organized? You can't just say, oh, I'm a spiritual sadhak and everything is a mess. My finances are a mess, my health is a mess, my relationships are a mess. No. If it's a mess, you have to sort this thing out. Yeah. Our way through this, our way through the world is our way through spirituality. You can't say, oh, I'm so fed up with my husband and my children, now I'll go to the temple. No, you can't do that. You have to work your way painfully through finding out what am I doing wrong, and often find that I'm not doing anything wrong. These other people are treating me badly. I'm not doing it wrong. Okay, then what should I do about these people who are treating me badly? How do I deal with them? All work, 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 work. So, Deepak, it is all about effort that we'll have to be putting to improve ourselves. Purushartha is just a choice you make whether you want to improve yourself or not. Is that fine?
Yeah, my question was because I misunderstood Purushartha to be self-effort. So that's how the question arose in my mind.
Yes, everybody says the translation is self-effort. Purushartha is translated as self-effort. So everybody takes some kind of effort. We're talking Sanskrit here, not Hindi. So it is choice. If you've been attending Vedanta treaties, it is just choice. Just a choice.
Okay.
Anybody else has anything before we move on to the next verse?
Hariyam
Hariyam Sangeeta.
here. My question is like it is when we have to put in an effort, it is from moment to moment, like every time you have to keep a check on yourself that whether I'm thinking right or whether my actions are right, whether I'm doing my duties properly, whether I'm studying or not. I mean, it's like in all the fields of life, you have to keep a check on yourself all the time.
Yes, to answer your question, yes, all the time you have to do it, but we can't do it all the time. So you have to at any point.
My
So at
my
any
next is the query is that in doing so or even in knowing so, our physical limitations are there. Like when you're aging, you are not able to cope up with. Because of your physical health, maybe you're not able to put in that much of effort in everything. Like you said, studying is a must. That is non-negotiable. What if you study in the daytime and not able to get up early in the morning, or not able to make it because of your other duties or stuff like that? So it is. I understand it is a matter of priority, but how to go about it? Like how to. Even if I study during the daytime, will it make a difference?
Wait, let's go back to the original question. The question is that do you have to keep a check on everything? The answer is yes. You have to keep a check on everything. But practically speaking, that's not possible. It's not possible. How are you going to keep a check on everything? So therefore, practically speaking, you take one thing at a time. You can't correct everything at one time, right? You take one thing. What is the one thing that you are going to try and correct? So, right now, since studies are non-negotiable, concentrate on only correcting that one thing. That in the morning, when I wake up, the first thing I will do is study. It may be 10 minutes, it may be 15 minutes, whatever. But that's the first thing I'm going to do. I mean, it's not my job, Sangeeta, to tell you what to do or not to do. That is entirely your decision. However, the principle is that you do take up one thing which you want to cure and stay with it for the next 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, until you have achieved that. Then you find one more thing that you can add into this. As you find that you're able to do the first one which you chose, then you add one more which you can do, and go about it systematically. Not like, oh my God, I've got so many things, you've collapsed before you started. Just take one thing. Now, which one thing to take? It makes sense to take whatever you think is most important. Let us say that, for you, you're saying you're aging. I have no idea how old you are, but if you claim to be aging, then I think that the first thing you need to attend to is why do you have this thought? Where did this thought come from that I'm aging? Something is wrong. There is no such thing as aging. Swamiji is 92 years old. He plays cricket, he does yoga, he travels around the world. I mean, not at the moment, now he's under lockdown. He writes books, he's living a full life. He's eating what he always ate, he's doing what he always did at 92. He goes for a jog every morning. So, in fact, he has always had this stance that aging is a myth. So, at least up to 92, we know now that he has lived up to what he said. In his 60s, he gave a lecture saying aging is a myth. The concept of aging is a myth. So, it shows, if I feel I'm aging, it shows there's something wrong with my health. I have to attend to this thing. So I got to attend to this thing. So you have to figure out what is the first thing you want to do. Start doing it. When you feel that you are sort of, okay, I'm able to do this much, take on one more thing to do and go systematically. We can't do. But then we have to eventually come to a point where more and more of our life is under our governance. Because remember, whatever is not under our governance is going to come back and knock us over the head one day.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I get you. Yeah. Thank you.
What is all this? Yash, please explain meaning of effort with reference to Shlok 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, what I just said was effort, Yash. You take up whatever one thing you want to include in your life, include it, get it properly, and then include another thing. It would be sensible to first and foremost begin with your morning studies because they are just non-negotiable. They are light. They are the way that will show you the way forward. If that is not in place, what's going to show you the way forward? So, but if whatever you take up, whatever one thing you are most inspired by, take it up, do it, get it into your life, then take up another thing, and slowly build up a schedule in life like that. That is the effort that we do. Rajesh says, can we get previous class recordings? Okay, Bharat has answered your question. Recordings are shared on the WhatsApp group. Then Harsimran Singh. Harsimran, yes, what's your question?
Hari Om, ma'am.
Hari Om.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, in some cases, for example, when it comes to self-study, that is something which is entirely dependent upon our own selves. So we can, there's a starting point, it as in you wake up on time, you take the effort, open the book, and then you read. But in some cases, there might be variables which are beyond our control. It can be in people that we are dealing with, wherein our effort in itself may not be sufficient because there might be some effort required from the other person. It can be a set of friends, can be colleagues at workplace, anyone. So in such cases where the effort has to be two-sided, how do we, how do we sometimes motivate ourselves to put in the effort when we are not getting the result that we wish to?
There is no rule that you have to put in an effort with a person who is not putting effort. Walk out of the relationship. What is, you're behaving as if you're tied to that person. Why are you tied? So if you walk out, you are in a relationship with a person who does not care for the relationship. Why are you there?
Okay, and ma'am, in case it's something like a professional environment, then it's like a necessity.
Right. Okay, so please understand, you have a necessity, so you better put in the work. So don't say somebody else has to do something. No, you have a need. You put in the work, whatever work is required. Because you have the need. Otherwise, who's telling you to stay there and put in the work? You want something, then you must pay the price, right? How can it be both ways? Suppose it's a relationship where the other person says, I don't care about you, so go away. No, I can't go away because I want this thing. Then you put in the work. That was my point.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and please let's not look upon our work as a favor we are doing to other people. That's the problem. You're saying I have to put in effort and you're not putting. It's not a favor I'm doing to you. I am going towards my goal and I see no reason why you should pay the price for me reaching my goal. So I'm going to do my bit. It's just a way of looking at it.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. Thank you.
Taruna?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Hari Om, ma'am.
Hari Om.
My question is that who desires liberation in me?
Can you repeat? I didn't catch it.
Yeah, my question is that who desires liberation in me? The desire of liberation. Let me see. And the intensity of that desire depends on the clarity of thought, how much clear we are about it, and at the same time, we have other desires also. So, how can these two contradictory desires exist in me?
They're not contradictory. Why are they contradictory? Okay, let's go back to first principles. We have a desire for liberation because we are not liberated. And why are we not liberated? Because we have desires. So how do you get liberated? You have to work your way through those desires, right? So when you work your way through those desires, you're going towards liberation. So it's not contradictory. Those desires are your path to liberation.
Okay. So the worldly desires are on the way to liberation.
Yeah.
Does that mean?
Yes, obviously.
But how come we multiply them in, sometimes we increase the desires and we go astray
Yes.
when we get lost in them.
Yes, because we are not using
Are
them
they
as
not
sorry.
So are they not contradictory? Are they not the hindrance in my goal to liberation in that way? If we multiply them or if we get lost in them?
No, they're not a hindrance. When you don't use your desires as a pathway to self-realization, that's when they increase. So you can't say they're a hindrance. When the goal is not there, that's when the desires increase. If you are clear that I'm doing these things to realize the self, how can the desire increase? It has to decrease. Remember what a desire is. What is a desire? A desire is nothing but your thought flow. When the thoughts flow in one direction consistently, that thought flow is so strong, it becomes what we call a strong desire. Right? So now why am I allowing myself to think about that so much? Because I'm not thinking of my goal. So if I was saying, okay, now I have these desires and I'm going to use them to reach my goal, then I'm simply doing those activities. My thoughts are not there. For instance, let's say now, take an example. Suppose a person is a business person, right? Okay, that is his nature. This is non-optional. This is his nature. Whatever he thinks, whatever he does, it'll be business. So now he thinks along those lines. Now, you remember we studied that first thing you choose in life is your swadharma. So whether you're a homemaker or a business person or in some service somewhere, whatever you're doing, you are in that field, right? And now if your thought is realization in that field, then that's your goal. So while you're doing those actions of business or going to office or whatever it is you're doing, your thought is always how am I going closer and closer to my higher goal. So the desires are not multiplying, the desires are getting directed to the goal. They become your capacity to reach the goal. So how you deal with your desires determines this, not what the desires are. Yeah.
Okay. So you said when we are not thinking of the goal, we are thinking of the desire. So we better think of the goal and then on its execution, we have to continue thinking on those lines itself by choosing our swadharma. Right. So it will be helpful in that way.
Yeah,
Right. Thank you.
you're going in the right direction. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So then that's it for today. We'll continue this class next Sunday, and we'll start our weekly classes again on Thursday. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Thank you.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.